So let's insert a input text for us to search in the gallery because we need to type somewhere. So I'm going to just bring the gallery a little bit down and go to insert text, and then we have text input. So in this text input, it will bring this text input here, and we can type inside it. If I hit play, we see that it's in here. It comes already with this default text, which I don't like. We will remove soon, but I can delete and type whatever I want. For example, PC001. But it didn't search yet, didn't do anything because we didn't connect, we didn't do a formula to do the search. So we need, in a certain way, to get this information, this text, and perform a search in the items inside the gallery.
Right.
Okay, so in order to do that, we don't play with these parameters for the text inputs, but for the gallery. In the gallery, we have the data source. If we select the gallery and click here, the data source, we see that's connected to the asset manager. So the items here is the asset manager. So it means it's bringing all the items from the asset manager list, and we need to filter, we need to search. So we have a function that's called actually search. As I was saying before, it's like us talking to the app. So I want to talk to the app. Search in the asset manager items. So we are going to search here. We are going to tell the app, I want to search in the gallery, the items in the gallery, where the title has the text I type inside this text input. So let's do that. But first, let's rename this as we just mentioned. It's very important to have clear names. So in this case, let's call it txt search asset. So this will be the name of the input. So now let's talk to the gallery that we want to search. So here we have the asset manager that will bring everything, but let's change to search. So I want to search what I want to search, where I want to search. So let's open parentheses and type the source. So once we open the parentheses, it will show here what's the next parameter for this function. In this case, is the source. That's the list I was just using. I'm going to select here Asset Manager. And now what text I want to search. From where the text comes. It comes from the text input we just created and called txt search assets. So let me add a comma to go to the text parameter, get the text from that input. So it's txt search assets dot text. In this way, we are going to get the text that the user types inside it. And now, what's the column I want to use to search this text? In this case, is the title column. So I'm going to select title. I start typing. It will show the options in here, and I select here title. And I can close the parentheses. Now, anything I type inside the txt search asset will be searched in the asset manager in the title column, and it will return here. So let's hit play and see how it works. Right now it has this text input. I just mentioned that I don't like it because it always comes with this and I have to delete. Let's remove this. Let's make it not default. So here, once I click, I have the default property and I can just delete and leave an empty text. So now it's searching by an empty text and it's bringing everything. But now if I hit play and I start typing, for example, P, it still shows everything because all of them have the P letter in the title. But once I type C from PC, it shows only the personal computers, the PC001 and 002. So it's narrowing down the items. And I can keep going until I find the item I want. So PC001, now it's searching and bringing me only this item here. If I want to search another item, I just can delete and search again. And if I don't want to select everything and delete, I can enable a clear button in here, so it will make easier. Especially if the user is using a tablet or a smartphone that he doesn't have the backspace to delete it. So let me exit the play mode, click here in the text input. If we are using a smartphone or a tablet, then we can enable this clear button. It makes way easier. So if I hit play and I have some texts and the box selected here, the text inputs, the clear button just appears, and if I click, everything will be deleted. And I can search another thing, smartphone, for example, it show only the smartphone. Any comments?
Nice. I saw it in that formula that we have a blue underline on that. What is that?
Okay, let me see.
On the formula bar.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
it's
delegation warning, what is that?
okay. The delegation warning, it's saying that this formula may not work correctly on large data sets. Why is that? So the Power Apps has a limit of information that it can show inside the app. In this case, if we go to settings, we see in the general that we have it set as 500, and we can set to at most 2000. That's the maximum. It
Mm-hmm.
means that if the action is not delegable, I think that's the way to say, it
Mm-hmm.
will bring 500 items to inside the app and then perform the search. But if
Mm-hmm.
the column or the data source has this, can be delegable, then it will ask the data source to search and retrieve the data. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, it's saying it's not. So it means every time I search, it will bring all the items from the list to the app and then perform the search locally. If I
Mm-hmm.
have more than 500 items, it may not work because Power Apps can bring only 500 items.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means. So it's something to consider uh, when using the search function, because if you have more items than Power Apps can handle, it may not show all the results you want. Am I correct?
Yeah, perfect. That's a good point, and that is something to consider when you're building your app and your formulas. So you need to pay attention. If you have a large data set, the data retrieved may not be what the user is expecting. So pay attention on delegation warnings.
Yes, there are some columns that work without delegation that work well, and you can search, and the data set can have thousands of records, millions of records.
Mhm,
It's good to check the documentation because it explains very well.
mhm,
So SharePoint has delegation issues with several type of columns. The ones that
mhm,
work fine are numbers and strings, but not for the search function. We would need to use another function to search and not have delegation. And
mhm.
also we have other data sources such as Dataverse that has less issues with delegations than SharePoint. So it's a thing to consider before building the app, how you're going to, which data set you're going to use, how you're going to search things, and know all the formulas and these limitations.
Right. So delegation will depend on the data source, on the type of column, and also on the formula. So
Yes,
I think these
correct.
are the three main things to consider.
Yes, and even if your data source has, in this case, less than 500 rows or 2,000 rows, if you set the delegation limits to 2,000, if you use something that's non-delegable, the app will bring all the data to the app and have less performance because it will need to bring all the data. It will use more connectivity, more traffic of data. So it's good
Mhm.
mm, to program without delegation. In this
Yeah.
case, the search has delegation. So another way would be using a filter with the start with function. Uh, it's a little more limited than search because search looks in all the words anywhere in the text. They start with only gets what starts with the text, but then it's not it's delegable, and then you could apply to thousands of registers. In this case, if it's a small company with only a few assets, this would work fine. But if it grows more, then would need to worry about this. I think in this case we can go because we are given the basics. But since we mentioned, it's good that people now will know when they see this and they need to study a bit more.
Yeah, and you said one important thing also, that even if you don't have a really large data set, you have to consider the performance as well, because if you're using a non-delegable formula or function, uh, all the query is going to be on the Power Apps side, so you might lose performance, and you have to consider maybe the device is not so powerful, and the connection also might be not so good, and you might get in trouble in these cases.
Yes, yeah. So it's a good point to consider. We can also make sometime a video, a live, solving some filters that have delegation, fixing and making working on performance. That would be a nice thing. So if anyone wants to watch this, also leave in the comments. We'll be happy to have suggestions.